Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into another fascinating corner of the natural world?
Always.
Awesome. Today we're focusing on dragonflies, those incredible aerial acrobats you see around ponds and streams.
Love them.
Me too. And I think after today's deep dive, you'll appreciate them even more.
Definitely.
We've got excerpts from this incredible text all about dragonflies.
Oh, yeah. This one is full of crazy facts.
Seriously, ever imagine a dragonfly with a wingspan like as long as your arm?
It's more than just imagination. Back in the Carboniferous period, you had these giant dragonflies.
No way, really?
Yeah. Like Meganeura.
Meganeura? Okay.
They were like the top predators of their time, flying through skies where most other animals hadn't even figured out flight yet.
That's crazy. I mean, it's like something straight out of, like a prehistoric sci-fi movie.
I know, right?
But seriously, what allowed these ancient, behemoths to get so incredibly big?
So scientists think it was a few things working together. First, the atmosphere back then, during the Carboniferous, had way more oxygen than today.
Okay, so more oxygen means bigger bugs.
Exactly. Insects, they breathe through these tubes, not lungs, so higher oxygen levels let them get much bigger.
That is fascinating. But I'm guessing there's more to the story than just, the oxygen levels, right?
You got it. The other big factor was basically an arms race between insects. As some got bigger, others, like our dragonflies, had to keep up, otherwise they become lunch.
Ah, survival of the fittest, even back then.
Totally. This evolutionary pressure, that's what led to these, mega dragonflies.
So like a prehistoric battle of the bugs, with size being the ultimate weapon.
Pretty much.
But okay, if those conditions were so good for giant insects, why don't we see them around today?
Good question. Over millions of years, oxygen levels went down.
Right.
Plus, you had new predators showing up, like birds and pterosaurs. Put a lot of pressure on dragonflies to get smaller, more agile, to survive.
Makes sense. So they traded size for speed and maneuverability? Smart move. Okay, so they shrunk. But they're still some of the most impressive flyers in the insect world, right?
Absolutely.
What's the secret to their aerial mastery?
One key difference is their wings. Dragonfly wings are directly connected to muscles.
Interesting.
Gives them crazy control over each wing's movement. Most other insects, their wings are attached indirectly to their thorax.
So less precise control.
So exactly.
Gotcha. So it's like having power steering versus manual steering. Dragonflies have that fine-tuned control.
I like that analogy, yeah. And because of that, each wing can move independently. They can fly any direction, hover, make these super sharp turns.
I mean, you see them zipping around. It's incredible.
Oh, and I haven't even told you the best part. They can accelerate at 4 Gs on takeoff, experience up to 9 Gs in sharp turns, and hit top speeds of 36 to 54 kilometers per hour.
Whoa, hold on. Those are some serious stats for such tiny creatures.
Right. To put it in perspective, a high-performance sports car might hit 1.5 Gs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Usain Bolt, the fastest human, only gets to about 45 kilometers per hour.
They're putting us to shame. But wait, with all that speed and those delicate wings, how do they not, tear themselves apart mid-flight?
That's where this super cool adaptation comes in. Have you ever noticed a little dark spot near the wingtip?
I think so. Never really thought about it.
It's called the pterostigma.
Okay, fancy name. What does it do?
This little spot acts as a counterweight,
Hmm.
prevents those super thin wings from vibrating and tearing under all that force.
Wow, such a tiny thing making such a huge difference.
Right. It's like it adds just enough weight and rigidity to the wingtip to dampen the vibrations, keep the wings stable.
Nature's so clever. Evolution finding these elegant solutions.
Absolutely. And speaking of elegant solutions, can't forget those amazing eyes. Dragonflies have these huge compound eyes.
They're pretty striking.
Each one has up to 30,000 individual lenses.
30,000? Seriously, that's mind-blowing.
It gives them almost 360-degree vision, and they can process visual information super fast.
So they see everything. What's the advantage of that?
Think about it. They hunt on the fly, literally. They need to see everything around them to track and intercept prey.
So it's not just about chasing. They're calculating the trajectory and intercepting, like a heat-seeking missile.
Exactly. Studies have shown their initial hunting success rate is around 95%.
Wow, that's incredible.
One of the most efficient predators out there.
They make it look so easy.
It's all about anticipating their prey's movements, adjusting their own flight path, and then, bam, capturing that target.
Okay, now I'm curious about those legs. They don't look particularly, menacing. How do they use those to actually catch prey midair?
Don't let looks deceive you. Their legs have evolved into this spiky basket. They basically snatch insects right out of the air.
Seriously.
They extend their legs forward, forming this cage-like trap, then scoop up their prey. Those spiky legs make sure they've got a good grip.
Like a built-in butterfly net.
I love it. It's a perfect example of how evolution has fine-tuned their anatomy for an aerial lifestyle. Wings, eyes, legs, everything's working together.
It all makes sense now, but I feel like there's a whole other side of this story we haven't even touched on yet. You mentioned earlier there's more to the dragonfly's life than just this, like, fleeting aerial dance. What did you mean by that?
We tend to get fixated on the adult dragonfly, the dazzling flyer, but they spend a huge chunk of their lives in a totally different form.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
And it's just as fascinating, maybe even more fearsome.
You got to tell me more.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's go beneath the surface into the underwater world of the dragonfly. Uncover the secrets of their hidden life stage. All right, so we've been talking about the adult dragonfly, master of the air. But before they take to the skies, they actually spend like months or even years underwater.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Underwater?
Yeah, as nymphs.
Nymphs, is that like a baby dragonfly?
Yeah, more than just a baby. It's a whole different stage in their life cycle. Think of it like caterpillar to butterfly, but even more extreme. And these nymphs, they're not just chilling underwater.
Okay, I'm sensing there's more to this.
Oh, yeah. They're serious predators. They even have a nickname, water tigers.
Water tigers. Okay, now that's a name that grabs your attention. So tell me, what makes these underwater assassins so special?
Well, dragonfly nymphs, they're built for this underwater life. They have this special lower lip called a labium.
A labium.
It's like a grappling hook. It shoots out crazy fast, catches prey before it even knows what hit it.
Like a built-in harpoon? Seriously, that's insane. But what kind of things are on the menu for these water tigers? What are they hunting?
Pretty much anything they can catch. Small insects, tadpoles, even small fish.
Wow, they're not picky eaters.
Not at all. And here's a fun fact. Remember those damselflies we talked about? Dragonflies' close relatives?
Yeah, the ones with the delicate bodies always folding their wings together.
Right, so they're nymphs. They live underwater too. And guess what? They often end up as a tasty snack for those dragonfly nymphs.
No way. So even as nymphs, there's this rivalry between dragonflies and damselflies.
It's like a constant underwater battle. Kind of makes you wonder if those damselflies hold a grudge when they both grow up, right?
I mean, I would.
Yeah.
But hold on, let's go back to the dragonfly nymphs for a sec. We know they're these fierce predators, but just how long are they actually living underwater?
That's the crazy part. It can be anywhere from a few months to several years.
Years? Seriously, that seems like forever compared to their, like, fleeting adult life. What are they doing down there for all that time?
Basically, they're training to be a dragonfly. Growing, molting, honing those hunting skills, getting ready for that big transformation into an adult.
Makes sense. So, like, they're constantly leveling up in this underwater world.
Exactly. And during that time, they go through a bunch of molts, shedding their exoskeletons as they get bigger.
So they're always outgrowing their clothes.
Oh.
But what finally triggers that last molt?
Yeah.
The one that takes them from water tiger to, sky dancer.
It's a mix of internal and external signals. As the nymph grows, it starts to pick up on changes in its environment. Water temperature, day length, even the amount of food available.
So it's like they're getting a message from the world around them saying, all right, you're ready. Time to move on up.
That's a great way to put it. And once that message is received, the nymph just knows. Instinct takes over, they crawl out of the water, find a good spot, and that's when the real magic happens.
The metamorphosis.
Exactly. It's got to be one of the most amazing transformations in nature.
I'm ready for this. What happens next?
Okay, so the nymph, it finds a secure spot, usually a plant stem or a rock, something near the edge of the water.
I guess they're pretty vulnerable at that point, right? Leaving the water like that.
Oh yeah, totally. But that's when the real magic happens. Their exoskeleton splits open along their back, and the adult dragonfly starts to emerge. It's slow, delicate, but incredible to see.
Oh, I bet. What does the newly emerged dragonfly look like?
Honestly, kind of alien. It's pale, soft, wings all crumpled and wet. Doesn't really resemble that awesome dragonfly we see zipping around.
It's like a second birth.
Yeah.
Going from their watery world to this whole new life in the air.
Yeah.
But wait, how do those crumpled wings become those, transparent marvels of flight?
Okay, so this is where it gets really cool. The dragonfly pumps hemolymph, which is like insect blood, into those wing veins. This fluid pressure, it unfolds and expands the wings.
Like pumping up a balloon. They're literally pumping themselves up to fly.
Pretty much. But it takes time. Those wings need to dry and harden before they can actually take flight.
I bet those hours feel like an eternity to the dragonfly.
It's all part of the process. But it's this incredible example of metamorphosis, right? The ability to completely transform, to adapt to a totally new environment and lifestyle.
This is blowing my mind. But I gotta ask, what about their love lives? Once they're adults, do dragonflies have, like, interesting mating rituals?
Oh, definitely. Dragonfly mating is just as unique and fascinating as their flying, and it starts with a pretty bold move from the male.
Okay, I'm all ears. Spill the tea on dragonfly dating.
Picture this. A male dragonfly, all driven by instinct, he spots a female. He approaches her from behind, and get this, he uses claspers on his abdomen to, like, grab onto her head.
He holds her head. Isn't that a bit, well, aggressive?
It's all part of the ritual. Then the female bends her abdomen upwards, connecting with the male's secondary genitalia.
Hold up, secondary genitalia, what's that about?
Dragonflies, they have this two-step sperm transfer thing going on.
2 steps.
Yeah. The male first transfers sperm from his primary genitalia to his secondary genitalia. Then, during mating, that's when he uses the secondary genitalia to actually transfer the sperm to the female.
Wow, that's complicated.
Yeah.
Why all the extra steps?
It's all about strategy. This two-step process lets the male remove any sperm from previous matings.
Oh, I see, like clearing the way for his own genes. It's a battle for fatherhood.
Exactly. And because of this, mating can take a while, sometimes hours.
Hours, seriously.
A lot of that time is the male making sure there's no rival sperm, guaranteeing his genes get passed on.
Talk about commitment.
Hmm.
So once the mating marathon is finally over, what happens next? Don't dragonflies lay their eggs in the water?
Right. Again, that's the next step. It's called oviposition. This is when you see the female, sometimes the male is still hanging on, dipping her abdomen into the water over and over.
Ah, that's how they deposit the eggs. It always seems so delicate, so precise.
It really is. The female chooses just the right spot. Could be right on the water, on a plant, sometimes even in the mud at the bottom.
It's incredible how they manage to be so accurate with their movements, even with the water resistance and everything.
They truly are masters of both air and water, but even in this crucial stage, there are always challenges. Remember those damselflies?
Oh, yeah. Always causing trouble.
Sometimes they'll try to disrupt the dragonfly's egg laying. It's like this constant back and forth between these two species.
It's like a never-ending drama with a dash of rivalry thrown in.
Totally. And it reminds us that even in this seemingly peaceful natural world, there's always a story unfolding. Adaptation, competition, this intricate web of life.
Beautifully put. But I'm curious, what happens to those dragonfly eggs once they're in the water? Do they hatch right away?
Not quite. That's where the cycle starts all over again. Those eggs hatch into the nymphs, the water tigers, and the journey begins anew.
Wow. The circle of life playing out right before our eyes, with each generation carrying on the legacy of these amazing creatures.
It's a story that's been going on for millions of years, a story of resilience, adaptation, and the power of nature to just create beauty and complexity, even in these seemingly small creatures.
Okay, so the eggs are in the water. What happens next? They just hatch into, like, tiny dragonflies.
Not exactly. Remember that whole metamorphosis thing we talked about?
Right?
The eggs actually hatch into those nymphs, the water tigers.
Oh, yeah. The underwater predators with those crazy extendable jaws. So the eggs hatch. These tiny predators enter the scene. What are those early days like for a nymph? Is it pretty tough out there?
You bet. It's a dangerous world for those little guys. Lots of predators around. Fish, bigger insect larvae, even other dragonfly nymphs.
Hold on, other dragonfly nymphs. They eat each other.
Oh yeah, it's a eat dragonfly world down there, so they've got to be smart to survive.
So how do they manage in such a hostile environment? What are their survival strategies?
Well, they rely on a few things. Camouflage, agility, and those awesome hunting instincts we talked about. Blending in with plants, hiding in the mud, darting around, and when they see prey, bam! That super fast labium goes to work.
So even at that tiny stage, they're already expert hunters.
Yeah.
Nature really sets them up for success from the get-go. But you mentioned they can spend years as nymphs. What's happening during all that time underwater?
It's all about growth and getting ready for that big transformation into adulthood. Remember, they go through a series of molts, shedding their exoskeletons as they grow.
Like constantly upgrading their armor.
Yeah.
But how do they know when it's time for that final molt, the one that takes them from water to air?
It's a combination of things.
Mhm.
Internal cues, external cues. As the nymph gets bigger, its body matures, it starts paying attention to changes in the environment.
Like what kind of changes?
Water temperature, day length, even how much food is around, All these things can signal that it's time to get ready for the big exit.
So it's like the world is saying, all right, you're ready now, time to move on up.
Exactly. And once they get that message, they just know. Instinct kicks in. They crawl out of the water, find a good spot, and then the real magic happens.
The metamorphosis. I'm still amazed by that whole process.
Me too. It's incredible. And it's worth talking about again because it's just so remarkable. So once the nymph is out of the water, finds a safe place, usually a plant stem or a rock,
Yeah.
it anchors itself really firmly. Then the exoskeleton splits open right along the back, and the adult dragonfly starts to come out. Slowly, carefully,
And there's just he's so vulnerable at that point.
totally,
Yeah.
totally helpless. Luckily, it usually happens at night, so they're a little less exposed.
Good thinking.
Mm.
Makes sense. So they come out of their old skin, and what do they look like then?
At that point, they don't look much like the dragonflies we're used to seeing. Soft, pale, wings all crumpled and wet.
Like they need some time to get themselves together.
Exactly. They have to pump fluids into their wings to get them to expand to their full size, let dry out and harden.
It's like they're inflating their wings.
Yeah.
So cool. How long does that whole process take?
It can be several hours, sometimes even a whole day. They can't fly until those wings are ready.
I bet that must feel like forever to them.
It's a crucial stage, though. And it really shows how resilient they are. They have to find just the right spot, blend in, stay hidden until they can fly.
So all that time as a nymph, all those challenges, it all leads up to this moment when they finally take to the air.
Right. From vulnerable nymph to agile flyer, it's a pretty incredible journey. And once they're up in the air, they're ready to be those acrobatic hunters we all know and love.
It's truly an amazing transformation. Well, I think we've covered just about everything dragonfly today. From their ancient ancestors to their underwater lives, their incredible flying skills, and their unique mating rituals. It's been an amazing deep dive.
I agree. It's a story that reminds us how connected everything is in nature, and it really shows the power of evolution.
We hope you enjoyed this journey into the world of dragonflies. And next time you see one flitting around, take a moment to think about everything it went through to get there.
From the bottom of a pond to the open sky, it's a testament to resilience, adaptation, and the beauty of the natural world.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the fascinating world of nature.